Welcome to the Inclusive Leadership Coaching Podcast. I'm Terri Donahue, your neurospicy inclusion coach. I am an ICF PCC life and leadership coach, passionate about social justice and specializing in neurodiversity. My purpose on this journey is to partner with you as you build an inclusive coaching practice that expands your impact. Here on the Inclusive Leadership Coaching Podcast, we believe leadership isn't just about titles or positions of power. It's about behavior, collaboration, and creating real, inspiring change. So let's get to it. Hey, leaders. I'm back. And today we're going to talk about rest, recognize, and redesign in inclusive leadership coaching. Not burnout, not recovery, not taking time off as a reward after intense work. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about rest as part of everyday life. Rest alongside work. Rest alongside thinking, doing, deciding, and even leading. Taking that pause. Rest that isn't reactive. Just fold it into how you live. And today, we're finally going there together. Because I've wanted to do this episode on rest for months now. But something in me kept saying, not yet. My intuition was waiting for the right timing. And then, just the other day ago, Dr. Shireen Daniels published a piece on LinkedIn called, Does Rest Need an Explanation? I actually get it as a newsletter in my email, and I'm like, okay, let me finish this up over there. And it felt like divine timing, like the universe saying, now, this is the moment. Dr. Daniels is the best-selling author of the anti-racist organization, Dismantling Systemic Racism in the Workplace, and managing director of HR Rewired. Some of you might remember I referenced her work in our last episode on racial harm. And this is just a coincidence. And she did it again. She did it again. What she wrote on rest triggered an inspirational pivot in me. You know how we pivot, y'all. In the best ways, of course. The article opens with this. Why is it that when Black women slow down, take time, work differently, or isn't as visible, for a while, there's an unspoken sense that we owe people an explanation for what's going on? Have you noticed that? Let me keep drilling on down so maybe you can see what I see. Because this is naming something specific, not just marginalized people in general, but the unique experience at the intersection of being Black and a woman. We're talking about intersectionality. This isn't just about racism, and it isn't just about sexism. This is about anti Black misogyny, a specific dynamic. And I'm noticing something here: the strong Black woman stereotype. And I'm wondering if you've seen this play out, where Black women might be expected to endlessly give without needing anything in return, expected to absorb everyone else's pain and trauma, expected to educate about racism without compensation. Mm. Expected to be resilient no matter what. Expected to save, fix, nurture everyone else. And here's something I notice about rest in this context. When a Black woman rests, it can be read as not being committed or not taking work seriously. When she slows down, it might seem as having an attitude or not being a team player. And this shows up differently than it does for other groups. You see, white women rest is more likely to be seen as self-care. Black men navigate racism in their own ways. But this specific gendered expectation to nurture and absorb shows up differently. Other women of color face their own unique dynamics. But this particular strong Black woman stereotype has roots in slavery, in the mammy stereotype, in enslaved women who were forced to care for white families while their own families were torn apart. And I want to name something else here. This dynamic can show up across communities. Sometimes from white colleagues in systems, and sometimes through internalized anti-Blackness within the Black, Indigenous, people of color communities too. It's really complex. And I'm inviting us, all of us, to notice this. Some Black women notice it. Some do. I mean, I do, and so does Dr. Shireen Daniels. She notices it too. And some are completely unaware. Mistaking unrealistic expectations for self-worth, leading them to overfunction, leading them to sickness, burnout, chronic stress. So I'm wondering, where might you see this playing out? In how you or others relate to Black women in your life. There are whole categories, as Dr. Daniels states, of labor that Black women are expected to perform that are rarely recognized as work at all, such as educating, nurturing, absorbing, caring, smoothing things over, turning the other cheek, being the bigger person, going high when they go low. And I noticed something here. All of those familiar phrases point to effort, restraint, and emotional labor, but they're rarely treated as such. They are framed as character, as maturity, as professionalism, as just what you do. As a further example of how strong and resilient we are, Black women pay for it with our bodies, with our nervous systems, with our mental and emotional well being. We carry the impact even when there is no recognition, no reward, and no rest built in. And this is where, we move from rest to recognition. Because understanding rest is one thing, recognizing the patterns in our lives, in our nervous systems, is another. Recognizing who benefits from how systems are designed. Recognizing who pays the cost. For me, recognition meant noticing patterns. Mhm. Noticing that my nervous system was holding this episode, holding a lot. For example, recognition looked like asking, who benefits when I give my lived experience away for free? Here's something important to understand. Research and theories are built from lived experience. Researchers study people, extract their experience, interview people, observe people. They're in my LinkedIn mailbox message begging me to take their studies because of my identities. There's just very little research on neurodivergent Black women. 2026. Very little to none. Then they publish papers and become experts. So you see, when I share my lived experience, that is the expertise, not theirs to use freely for their advancement, while I just give. Do you see what I'm putting down? Are you picking up what I am putting down? And if Black women are just giving, who benefits when rest is only acceptable after visible exhaustion? These aren't rhetorical questions. They're recognition questions, the kind of questions that helps us see systems clearly. The recognition that leads us to redesign, to equitable systems redesign. This work is about looking at systems, organizations, workplace, structures, and asking who benefits from how this system is designed. who is excluded or harmed. Redesigning systems means dismantling structures that unfairly privilege some over others, and redesigning them to be more equitable. In organizations, this might look like asking, who gets to rest and who doesn't? Whose labor is recognized and compensated, and whose isn't? This design or redesign work asks, what would it look like if rest were a default, not something earned? Where all labor is valued and compensated. And that's what we are doing here. That's right. We are redesigning this podcast as an equitable system. Here's the new structure. Inclusive leadership coaching continues as your free education resource. The ideas, the frameworks, the language you need, all of it. Inclusion Lab, the real talk, is where we go deeper. That's where the lived experience, the tools, the coaching strategies, and the real talk is going to live. Your investment into Inclusion Lab is an investment into your own inclusion journey. You get the depth, the application, and the how-tos. You get me showing up consistently with the reciprocity and the accountability structures that make that possible. This redesign levels the playing field. It allows everyone to receive value, not just take it. Moving forward, if you are not listening on Apple Podcasts, listen, no worries. The link will be in the show notes. And we will see you there for the rest of this episode, where we continue with the real talk. You'll get education and stuff, but we are going to do the whole episode right on over there. Coaches, hang on to your seats. This is going to be fun. I am so grateful for you all for being here, for holding space for me, for being excited to see me show up in your iPod app. Thank you for holding space for me. And thank you, Dr. Shireen Daniels, for sparking the inspiration for this episode. Once again. And if you're still here, we're about to get real. Boom! Shakalaka! And that is a wrap on this episode of the Inclusive Leadership Coaching Podcast. If something in today's conversation got you thinking, I would love to hear about it. Connect with me on LinkedIn or at terridonahue.com. And hey, if you're enjoying this podcast or you really want to support me, go ahead and subscribe, leave a review, and stick around. There's plenty more to come. Next time, we'll dive into even more exciting conversations. Until then, keep leading with inclusion in mind.